there, hello there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond with yet another Degrassi video. It is the Degrassi video of August 2019. So basically there are a few things I want to get. The event is this. I don't think a lot of people have heard about this, but there's something called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse is described in Revelation, the book of Revelations in the Bible, about the Lamb of God that opened four of the seven seals of God, which had four beings that ride out on four horses, white, red, black, and pale. I'm basically just saying that the four of them are death, famine, war, and conquest. So it's actually weird about this. So I decided that, hey, I was going to do 3 horsewomen of the apocalypse for Degrassi because there were 3 main female characters that caused a lot of drama on the show. But I'm like, hey, I need a 4th. So I posted it on the Reddit community last weekend, and they said Holly Jade, and I said, that's perfect, because one represents Degrassi Next Generation, one represents Degrassi early on, like from seasons 8 to 10, and then one represents Degrassi from 11 to 14, and then one represents Degrassi Next Class. Now, of course, it's going to be hard to realize who should be what. So, well, I'm going to say this. The apocalypse. One is death. Death is the first one, and that would be Maya. Famine would be probably Claire. War is Emma because of her psychological needs. And conquest would be Holly J because of her A-type thing. So that's how I'm going to do it. Alright, so in order is death, which is Maya. Reason being is because Maya was involved in a major storyline that dealt with death. So, a background on Maya. She had a sister named Katie who was also part of Degrassi. Maya is a music virtuoso, especially in the cellist. She was unafraid to speak her mind and wasn't interested in gaining popularity or what people thought of her, which often found herself in trouble. So Maya was insecure about her body, and she was empathetic and was always there for them for advice. Following the suicide of Cam Saunders, Maya was trying to be rebellious by dressing provocatively and showing her sex appeal. However, Campbell's death affected her, and she was back, and she had to make an emotional recovery. She decided to become more mature and sensible in season 13 after Cam's death. She had boy trouble because she was dealing with Sake and Miles at the same time. The love triangle ended, mostly after ending a relationship with Sake and being involved in a bus accident that injured herself. That was before Next Class started, or New Class, whatever you want to call it. Maya falls into another dark period where she is depressed and attempts suicide. But thankfully, she pierces her life back together. So anyway, it's amazing what you can do. So anyway, she has problems dealing with Cam and all that. So anyway, the episode where she really gets into it. Anyway, let's see here. Sorry. Well, I guess I should really say it. I don't think I need to look on the Degrassi wiki, but anyway, Maya had a boyfriend named Cam, and Cam unfortunately was feeling the pressure of hockey, and his teammates, including Dallas, did not really appreciate his puppy-eye love for Maya and all that. They were basically teasing him and all that. But they didn't know Cam deep inside was not sure about hockey. I mean, being away from your family for the first time in God knows how long is hard enough. Maya tried to help Cam out And then unfortunately Cam decided to kill himself in the J.T. York Memorial Garden. And Maya at first didn't really feel like she needed to say something about Cam. But all of a sudden, you got yourself the fact that she kept following it up. And now she fell in a dark depression because of Cam. Because, she was scared that, she couldn't help Cam out. That was kind of a dark period because Maya then made it her mission to make sure that nobody in her life feels bad about themselves. So the next season, she basically bumps into Sig, who got kicked out of his house by his mother, and decides to take him in as a good deed. Now, it's unknown if Maya knew that Sig inadvertently caused Cam to kill himself by saying, "Get away, freak," and all that. And Cam killed himself just a few minutes later. But anyway, Maya and Sig kind of are an endgame in a sense because they ride off together in Degrassi Next Class. But she also got in a relationship with Miles, who was having troubles dealing with his family because his father was being a jerk and all that. I don't think his father had any sympathy and all that throughout the show. That's just me. But anyway, Miles and Maya hook up. Maya feels like she should be helping Miles out and all that. She basically lies about Miles' involvement in a car crash that almost injured Mike's infant son and Mike being Dallas and his girlfriend, who was the mother of the child. So anyway, Maya was trying to get Miles out of trouble and all that, but unfortunately, she fails, and a policeman actually jumps in and tells Maya that you can't help someone who can't help themselves, basically telling her that, I know you want to try to help people, but they have to try to help themselves. But of course, when Miles decides to take Maya off social media and all that, their friendship's off, Maya has it in her head that Miles is trying to kill himself. Well, you can't blame Maya because, Cam was being dark depressive and didn't really answer her messages. So she thought Miles was going to kill himself because this was oddly similar to how Cam died. Unfortunately, she breaks into his house, and that was the last straw. So basically, they broke up and all that. Maya was doing fine, and then when they had that bus crash, just before Next Class started, or was it Next Class? But yeah, it was Next Class. Maya, of course, got hurt in that crash. Tristan got a equivalent GED or something, whatever, a grade 12, whatever you want to call it. So Maya, for some reason, went down a dark path and went endgame, and was with Syed, I think, or Bashir, I don't remember the name. But anyway, she was being dark and depressive and all that. And the bus crash left her with something bad. She decides to head up to the Degrassi room. Well, she goes onto the Degrassi bus and decides to kill herself off with pills and then listens to some music. One problem, it failed, and she said, I can't do anything right. So she decides to jump off the roof. But Esme saves her, and Esme, after watching her mother die by her own hand when Esme was 10, said, don't make her throw up. She's got to go to the hospital. So basically, Maya is saved by Esme. Unfortunately, Maya is clinically depressed and forced to basically go to a psychiatrist and all that. About the bus and Cam and all that. And Maya did endure the wrath with Esme because Esme thought that by saving Maya, she could be popular and all that. But everyone was just drawn to Maya and all that. Esme was angry that everyone wanted to try to help Maya instead of blacklisting her because of her suicide. So Esme decides to try to ruin Maya's character, which fails miserably. Maya does hook up with Sig accidentally and go to the prom. I know Sig was supposed to be with Esme. Esme does not know that Maya, at multiple times before the series finale, was trying to get Sig to actually say, to go to Esme and all that. But she thought Maya was stealing Sig. And of course, Esme went off the rails. So Maya ends up going to California. Of course, we don't know much about her because, that was the series finale. Okay, and practically, this was huge. Her depression storyline with Cam was huge because it was like multiple seasons, like 3 or 4 seasons, whereas it usually gets resolved in 1 or 2 seasons. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is famine. And Claire is famine because, she's hungry for something. Okay, so here's we go. Claire was again introduced as a sibling to another Degrassi character, that being Darcy. So unfortunately, Claire wanted to date Jake, a boy that she liked, but unfortunately, because her mother married Jake's dad, they were step siblings. She is more lenient in her beliefs than her sister, and can sometimes break rules when she feels that the ends justifying the means. And she can be a drama queen, getting upset when things don't go her way. She has a big relationship with Eli, and then she actually gets pregnant in season 13, but in season 14, she loses the baby. And basically, it was Eli's kid, not Drew's. Claire does come across as being stuck up and innocent, but can be sneaky. She is a kind-hearted person who defends her friends. She actually ended up being diagnosed with cancer, rhabdomyosarcoma. Thankfully, she got chemo, and she was in remission. She was portrayed as being part of the four people who were replacing key characters who left after Next Generation in season 8, with Allie, Casey, and Connor. So anyway, that was huge. So basically, Claire's all that. So anyway, Claire gets introduced as part of the gifted class with Allie, Casey, and Connor. She's basically in Degrassi and all that. She graduated from a Christian school and all that. Basically, Claire is involved in a lot of things with practical, like, she has a lot of things going wrong for her. One key good thing about her in season 8 was she was trying to help Connor after the Shep overreacted to Connor's behavior. Of course, Connor, being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, helped out things and made him a better character, if you will. Claire decides to get the Shep down on video because Shep was going to be named Principal of the Year, which was strange to me. It was like, he just took over the role like a few months prior from Hatzilakos. How the hell is he Principal of the Year? So basically what ends up happening is that she gets the Shep basically making some bad remarks, and the school walks out on him. Shep gets forced to go to sensitivity training for a month. He comes back. He doesn't really improve as much, and Hatzilakos comes back for one season, and then Snake gets the job. So anyway, it's important to know that Claire had a lot of things bad going for her. Her parents were not happy with each other. Claire was trying to get her faith up there, hoping that her faith would bring her through, but she felt bad because it was like, what's happening to our parents and all that. So anyway, she deals with a boy she likes, being Jake, but unfortunately because her mother married Jake's dad, they can't be together. They're step-siblings. And then you got yourself Eli, who seemed to be a very dark person, driving a hearse and all that. So they have a relationship that's on and off, and of course Claire becoming a bit of drama and all that. But you can't blame her for being drama sometimes because, she had that cancer, she went into remission, thankfully. She got pregnant, she lost the baby. I don't think it's common, but a lot of people say, well, if you have cancer, it's hard to get pregnant and hard to have a kid. I doubt that. I completely doubt that. Claire was sexually assaulted by her boss. Claire was also involved in the fact that after the Degrassi News scandal, she was confronted by Principal Pill about, the problems with losing her baby and all that. And of course, the cameras were there to catch audio, and basically for Pill to say, oh, I did, how good of a job I'm doing. And basically if someone says ill will towards her, she basically might confront them. Claire decides to smash the cameras, loses her student council role. But you know what? and valedictorian, but she did the right thing. Unfortunately, we don't know much about Claire after she graduates. What happens to her and all that. That's bad. Next up is war. And Emma is war for one reason, because she wars with people about their beliefs and causes. So, here, Emma was part of the next generation, and she's like all that. She was the main protagonist of the next generation because she was born during Degrassi Junior High and made the main character. She was an ideologist and environmentalist who consistently voices her own opinion. She was known for being responsible, mature, yet uptight, but has hit a three-dimension character. So basically, Emma gets born during Degrassi Degrassi Junior High, when CBC and Degrassi pushed the limits of things by basically having a teen pregnancy and all that. It got them an Emmy Award. That's why the girl's named Emma. Bet you didn't know that. But anyway, Emma was portrayed as being a girl that just wanted a guy. In the first episode, she fell flat to someone who was catfishing her. And that was catfishing before catfishing was popular years later. So basically, she made poor judgments and all that. But she learned from her mistakes. She was dealing with a relationship with Sean Cameron. I don't know why she liked the bad boy personality, but anyway, Sean wrecks his relationship with Emma by having a fight with Jimmy and then accidentally bumping into Emma. So anyway, Emma is portrayed as someone who has idealistic views, and she actually, in season 1, wants to fight a news program that's being aired over Degrassi airwaves about, making weird points about squeegee kids and all that. And Raj says, why don't you write something in the paper about it? And she does. She does seem to be prude when her friend Manny gets to be on the Spirit Squad, which is the cheerleading thing. And Emma says cheerleading is bad for everyone. The cheerleaders, especially Paige, said that Emma's wrong because we have boys on the team. It's not because boys aren't on the cheerleading thing. It's because of how cheerleaders are portrayed as being thin and all that stuff. So anyway, season 2 brought us Emma and Sean, take 2. It was a good relationship and all that. Sean cares for Emma. Although Emma does at times screw things up in season 2, especially when she was first opposed to Snake being with Spike because it would have been weird having her stepdad being a teacher at her school. So yeah, she starts to calm down, but then she feels that it is her responsibility to tell Snake about Spike being pregnant somehow. She didn't want Spike to abort the baby, but what if Spike didn't want to? But of course, Spike made the mistake in the White Wedding episode by saying that I don't want a second mistake. And Emma, of course, who was close to being aborted, was upset about that. Being anti-abortion because of her views. Because she was almost an abortion, but was kept. I can understand that, but she kind of got a little bit nosy and all that, and a lot of people hated her for that. Another season 2 storyline that she really got into was basically her role in genetically modified foods. She thought that Raj was not giving her the time of day. She passes out flyers. She gets them taken away. She actually concedes, but then they make a cafeteria thing and gets Emma stand her up. Emma accidentally starts that food fight. Raj basically blames her flyers for everything, which it was false. Emma decides to switch her cause from genetically modified foods. She does tell the school, I don't care what you think about it, to freedom of speech, because she thinks that Raj is basically stifling her. And she's right, in a sense. That's when we kind of see Raj turn from sympathetic to a little bit of a pain in the neck, if you will. Season 3, she's still with Sean, and of course she has a new sibling, Jack, who she loves dearly. But Sean is persuaded by Jay and his gang not to be with Emma because Emma is holding him back, I guess. Of course, Sean decides to embrace his bad guy image, and Emma is not happy about it. So what happens with Emma is that basically season 3 also is a bad turning point for her, bad season for her, because she gets involved in Manny's relationships. Manny actually tells Emma to be with Chris, even though Chris has a girlfriend, excuse me. And Emma sticks to her principle saying it's evil. And then, of course, Manny hooks up with Craig, who's with Ashley. It's kind of, like Emma had a point that Manny was actually being a hypocrite. Basically telling Emma one thing and then doing the other thing. They break up as friends. Emma does defend Manny when Manny gets pregnant. Even though Manny was going to abort the baby, which was against Emma's views, Emma decides to tell Craig that Manny can do whatever she wants, even though that's bad. All that. So basically, she's on Craig's side, but she also knows Manny has a choice. So, of course, Manny gets it aborted. Then season 4 comes around, and season 4, we see the fact that Emma broke off with Chris, and she was upset that Manny was going to date Chris. So she decides to do something about it. Unfortunately, it falters, and Manny and Liberty basically make her persona non grata. She gets involved with Rick coming back to the school. She makes the silent campaign. Paige and her crew basically use Emma to try to get Rick out, and unfortunately that failed. And Emma does protect Rick because the cause was being thrown for bad reasons. The domestic violence thing, it brought the students closer to basically beating the shit out of Rick, if you will. Of course, Emma loses that popularity and basically is only stuck with 3 friends, Rick, Toby, and Heather St. Clair. So she does the wacky brain with the guys, and of course Jimmy replaces Heather because of Heather's mono. And unfortunately, she gets involved with Rick. It was a one-sided relationship, obviously. Rick basically was upset that Emma led him along, that this was a joke. But Emma was just trying to protect Rick from being harassed. Rick, unfortunately, screwed up with his logic. Rick pointed the gun in Emma's face. Sean thankfully saves her life. And Emma feels strongly towards Sean. I'm not sure she knew that Sean was with Ellie or not, but I think she wanted to be with Sean because Sean saved her life, and I don't think anyone else would have saved her life. It did mark a turning point because Emma's characterization after the shooting, she was very silent and kept things to herself. Mostly because she knew that she could do better with internal conflict and get rid of it, and everyone knew that. That's why they treated her like saying, "Oh, Emma will bounce back." She always bounces back, but she couldn't bounce back. Unfortunately, it took a ravine trip with Jay to realize that she's doing something wrong. She gets gonorrhea. The school wants nothing to do with her, and she realizes she needs help and all that, and she gets the help she needs. Then in season 5, she protects Manny after Manny gets in trouble for doing a topless video, and Peter basically makes it in front of the whole school, and somehow Peter escapes major punishment. Manny's parents throw her out because of her acting thing. I think that was what, well, Manny's dad threw her out. But anyway, Emma takes Manny under her wing, and nothing much happens. But unfortunately, Emma basically screws up things by dating Peter because she had feelings for Peter. And unfortunately, that was bad. Emma was just shit on by a lot of people. Although one positive side was that Emma's eating disorder was helped out by Peter. Well, Peter knew the signs of eating disorder and helped her out with combating it. And of course, we know Emma basically had the eating disorder because she had problems with the fact that Manny and Spike were putting more pressure on her to do things, and she couldn't get in control. That's one of her problems. When she's not in control, she goes off the rails. Emma does fine the rest of season 5. She's with Peter in season 6. Then Sean comes back in the picture somehow, and Emma has feelings towards Sean and also Peter. She doesn't know what to do. Of course, Peter frames Sean for a car crash. Of course, Sean is put in jail. Peter gets community service and all that. Emma learns that Peter was the bad guy, and Peter of course, Peter put drugs in Sean's locker to get rid of Sean and save the relationship. Unfortunately, Emma learns this, mostly because Peter stupidly put a mask in her locker, and Emma's like, "I never gave you my combination." Obviously, Peter had his mother's list and all that. So basically, Peter and Emma break off. Emma goes towards Sean. They have a good relationship, and then she deals with JT stabbing in a negative way because, it kind of brought back her PTSD from season 4 with the gun in her face. And with the incident happening steps from her house, I mean, understandable. And she was upset that Manny went back to her parents and all that. She thought that Manny was actually not willing to help her out. She wanted Manny's help because she figured that Manny was the only person that could give her the help without having to deal with a professional. That fails, but Manny and Emma finally get a friendship that lasts. And I don't think they hurt each other after season 6. Of course, Sean leaves for the army. Emma's not too pleased about it, but she also knows that it's Sean's choice and all that, and lets him go. Season 7, she has a big cause to fight for when Purple Dragon basically wants to partner up with Degrassi. Emma wins the model competition and models for them, but Purple Dragon has some strict guidelines, and Emma is upset about it and decides to go with the fact that her fuse are much more important than Purple Dragon. And of course, she's forced to, I think they said to get Finn and all that, but Emma, of course, having an eating disorder, she learns she can't do that anymore. So she tells the Purple Dragon manager, Natasha, that I'm not doing this anymore. And Natasha says, you cannot wear that purple dress. Well, protesting abuse. Okay. And then Emma strips off naked. Oh, yeah. Emma does get detentions and all that. But she avoids expulsion because Purple Dragon kind of did admit their problems and decide to partner with Degrassi, but change their views. So Emma gets with Damien. Of course, Emma deals with the fact that Snake is being blacklisted, even though with Darcy, because Darcy makes up some fabrication about Emma, about Snake and all that, and she has to deal with Snake's aftermath, mostly because Spike couldn't do it. But thankfully, Emma helps Snake out, and Sean pops up by for an appearance. Emma goes with Damien. Damien cheats on her. Emma doesn't blame Liberty because basically it was Damien's fault. And then when we see her in college in season 8 and 9, we see that a strange side of Emma. Emma tries to become normal because she's portrayed as bland and boring. So she does the pod brownies thing. Kelly thankfully takes the rap for her. And then, of course, she gets mad at Kelly in Holiday Road for taking a job that his father set up for him, saying that you have to do the cause and all that. Kelly is sick of the fact that Emma's ruining his life, running his life, even making him vegan when all he wants to do is just try a burger. Emma unfortunately tells everybody that she hasn't done well in school and all that because of the fact that she wanted to make friends so badly with Liberty and Manny now out of the picture that she actually tries to be friends with somebody because she feels so alone and all that, and she fails miserably and all that. But thankfully, Spike and Snake don't completely snap at her, but they basically say, what do you want?